She held the tiny blanket long after the room was empty. The nurses had gone, the machines were silent, and the cry she had prepared her whole life to hear never came. There are losses that break the body, and there are losses that fracture the soul so deeply that breathing itself feels like betrayal. She did not scream. She did not collapse. She simply sat there still, stunned, wondering how the world could continue turning when hers had stopped. She had prayed. She had believed. She had trusted God with everything she had. And now the question she never wanted to ask pressed against her chest like a weight too heavy to move. If God is good, why am I still here, and my baby is not? She did not know it then, but in that moment when her faith felt thinner than breath, God was already holding her together. The kind of pain words refuse to carry. There is no vocabulary for the loss of a child. Language fails immediately. Friends reach for sentences and come back empty-handed. Even grief feels too small a word, too polite, too distant from the raw tearing that happens inside a mother when life leaves the body she once carried. She had imagined this child in 1,000 quiet ways. The weight in her arms, smell of skin and milked soft sounds at night that steal sleep but give meaning. And now, all those futures vanished without warning, without explanation. The world did not stop for her grief. Cars still passed. The sun still rose. And somehow, that felt like the cruelest thing of all. The silence after the prayer word hurt almost as much as the loss was the silence. She had prayed through the pregnancy, prayed through the fear, prayed through the nights when something felt wrong but she couldn't name it. She had whispered God's name with hope. And now, when she needed him most, heaven felt unbearably quiet. No answers, no signs, no sudden peace, only the echo of a prayer that seemed to fall back to the floor. Faith, she discovered, does not always collapse loudly. Sometimes it just goes quiet when faith becomes a question. Instead of a comfort, people assume grief makes people angry at God. Sometimes it does, but sometimes it does something more complicated. Sometimes it makes God feel distant, like someone you once trusted deeply but can no longer understand. She did not curse him. She did not reject him. She simply didn't know how to reach him anymore. The God she believed in was a protector, a giver of life, a keeper of promises. And now she was forced to reconcile that God with a tiny grave and empty arms. The loneliness no one sees as grief isolates, not because others don't care, but because they cannot follow where grief goes. People spoke gently. They offered food. They said her baby was in a better place, and none of it touched the ache, because the truth was simple and unbearable. She didn't want a better place. She wanted her baby. At night, when the house was still, the grief grew louder. Her body remembered what her arms could not hold. Her heart replayed moments that would never return. Loneliness settled in, not the absence of people, but the absence of understanding. The body remembers what the world forgets. Her body still carried the memory. Milk came with nowhere to go. Hormones surged with no child to receive them. Her arms ached with an instinct that had lost its purpose. No one talks about how cruel the body can be after loss, how it continues to hope even after hope has died. She felt betrayed by her own biology, as if even her flesh had not received the message. And yet, This body that had failed to protect her child somehow kept her alive. She did not yet see it. But even then, God was holding her through the physical mercy of survival. The temptation to blame yourself, grief searches for someone to accuse. If not God, then herself. She replayed every moment, every symptom, every decision. What if I had gone to the hospital sooner? What if I had prayed harder? What if I had noticed something I missed? Guilt disguised itself as responsibility, as if taking the blame might give her back some control. But control is an illusion. Grief exposes brutally. Some things break not because of failure, but because the world is fragile. The night God felt furthest away, there was a night when the pain peaked, not dramatic, not loud, just a quiet moment when she realized she could not carry this alone anymore. She did not kneel. She did not speak eloquently. She whispered, barely audible, "I can't do this." It was not a prayer of faith. It was a confession of collapse. And strangely, that was when something shifted. When God does not explain, but stays guard did not answer her questions. He did not justify himself. He did not explain the loss, but he stayed in the slow return of breath, in the strength to get out of bed, in the fact that grief did not kill her, though it felt like it should. Faith did not return as certainty. It returned as presence. Not everything will be okay, but you are not alone. The difference between healing and being held, God did not erase the pain. He did not restore what was lost. Instead, he held her together while she learned how to live broken. This is a faith few sermons talk about. The faith that does not conquer suffering, but survives it. The faith that says, "I still don't understand, but I am still here." Learning to carry love without an ending, she realized something slowly, painfully true. Loving her child had not been wasted even without a lifetime. Love is not measured in years. It is measured in depth. Her baby had known warmth, had known safety, had known love, and that mattered. The quiet resurrection of meaning did not return suddenly. It crept back slowly, in compassion for others, in gentleness she did not have before, in a deeper understanding of suffering. Her grief carved space in her heart, and somehow God filled that space not with answers, but with presence. Faith after loss is smaller but stronger. Her faith was no longer loud, no longer confident, but it was honest. She no longer believed God existed to protect her from pain. She believed he existed to meet her inside it. And that kind of faith, quiet, wounded, enduring, was stronger than anything she had known before. She did not move on. She moved forward. She did not forget. She did not replace. She did not get over it. She carried her child differently now, as a memory, as a love, as a quiet ache that would always belong to her. And somehow, that was okay. God held what she could not. She learned that faith is not about being strong. It is about being held when you are not. God did not fix the story, but he refused to abandon her in it, and that more than any miracle was what saved her. The kind of hope that survives loss. Hope returned not as expectation, but as trust. Not trust that nothing bad would happen, but trust that even when it did, she would not be alone. Her life would never be the same, but it would still be meaningful. A mother forever changed, forever held. She is still a mother. still grieving, still believing quietly that her arms are empty. But her heart is not abandoned. God did not take her pain away, but He held her together when it threatened to tear her apart. And sometimes that is the greatest miracle of all.